gift?
I don't believe, and I've said this before, and I get in trouble for saying this, but I don't believe in gifts. I'm not saying that God-given gifts do not exist, but I don't really believe in gifts. In this craft, I think that telling a story is like learning to plane a board, or like learning to put down a crop. I think it is a learned craft that you learn. The first time you pick up See Spot Run, first time you read those words, if they come together for you and make sense to you, then every sentence you read from then on, is there a beauty in it? Is there a structure in it that you see the way a mathematician sees a problem? But if there is any, so most of it is just learn. You read Eudora Welty, you read Faulkner. Faulkner wrote, "Beautiful women slip away from small southern towns like a bead off a broken string." That's beautiful. Eudora Welty wrote of the assassination of Medgar Evers. She described the killer in the weeds, saying, as he sighted his rifle on Medgar Evers' back, he says, "I knowed I had to write one. I knowed him from his still listening back." So you see those things and you learn from them, and you catalog them, and you think, yeah, I can write that. I can write something like that. But if there is any advantage, it is growing up with the people who love language. Our people love language. And I've just made it a study. I made it a lifelong study. My mother will not tell you, if you ask her, well, did they tell the truth? She would not respond, well, yeah, they told the truth. She would say, "Hun, they were telling God's sanction." So, with that beauty of language all around us. Now, some Southerners grunt. You know what I mean? Y'all know what I mean. They grunt their answers, or they don't like, or they're just taciturn, or they just don't like language. But I happen to grow up with people that could tell you this. Like my Uncle Jimbo could tell me the story of deputies chasing him down a dirt road, and you could hear the chains rattling in the pocket of the deputy. They spoke with detail. 3 keys to writing, you young people, a noun for the rest of your life. Imagery, detail, color. Show, don't tell. I guess that's 6. Alabama public school system. But I don't think it's a gift. I think it's just, it's how much time do you have to devote, to it. I happen to be a newspaper guy, so every day of my life was as a writer.
If your curveball hadn't been hanging them,
Right. I'd be smoking them right now. I'd be the oldest. I'd be the only 53-year-old pitcher pitching in the minor leagues. I'd be pitching for the Biscuits down in. Now, see, here's the thing. Writing is work. It's like digging taters. Telling stories is fun, but writing is work. But it's not as hard a work as roofing. And I would love to tell you that I love writing. I don't love writing. I love having written. And writing is hard. And you young folks, if you are frightened of writing, if you're frightened of the blank page, congratulations. You're supposed to be. If you love writing, maybe you're also a little odd. But that's all right too. But I think if I could have done other things, I don't know if I would have, but I would have sure been a reader. I might not could have been a writer, but I'd have been a reader. Well, just remember that you're celebrating the life. Yes, I mean, you're writing about people who's not only are they often gone, but their way of life is gone. But, you write of the power and the glory of the moments.
What if they're still here?
What now?
They're still here. I'm having a hard time writing the paper. It sounds like a eulogy.
Well, then don't be so damn depressing. Ask them. Believe me, they may be suffering. They may have a difficult, even horrible life. Ask them what was your best day. Ask them what they dream about. Ask them what they were afraid of that never came true. And you ask those three things, it won't be a eulogy. I read novels. I read nonfiction to educate myself. I read a lot of nonfiction. But I read novels for fun, and I like a good story that with, violence and fighting and loving and killing and dying. And I read everybody and everything. I read James Lee Burke. I read Dickens. Every year, this time of year, I start to read some Dickens. And I read A Christmas Carol every year. I read Larry McMurtry's Lonesome Dove about every 2 years. Larry Brown, great writer. Eudora Welty. I read Carl Hyacin to make me laugh. I just like a good novel. I tend not to read those hypersensitive books that my wife wants to make me read because they ain't got no killing in them. Oh, it was just heartbreaking across the board. Yeah, it was a woman in Union, South Carolina, who drowned her two young children in a lake so that she could free herself of obligations and appendages and court the son of the local mill owner. And it was no more complicated than that. She was a selfish murderess. And she killed her children with the amount of thought that I spent on whether or not to eat a piece of chocolate cake today. And she was found out, but she blamed a young black man for kidnapping the children because she picked a story she thought people would believe. And then she got caught by a very good sheriff named Howard Wells. And he caught her, tricked her into telling a lie, hated that, but he caught her. Good man. He and his wife couldn't have children, and he's going after a woman who threw hers away. And it was one of the best stories I've ever covered. It was one of the reasons I won the... Was that a Pulitzer story? I think it was. I think that was one of my Pulitzer stories. It just broke your damn heart. I hated every minute of it. And right. To test that theory, I took my rent-a-car because, quite frankly, I didn't like it much. And I took it to the lake, and I was prepared to sacrifice the rent-a-car to the lake. New York Times had plenty of money. And I was going to, just to see if I could fling myself out of the car as she claimed she did. Now, I'm bigger than she is, so flinging myself, I'm not built for gymnastics. But I could not even get a leg out of the car before it rolled and almost submerged. So it was just a heartbreaking, awful thing. And there was not one redeeming element in it by anyone except Howard Wells, the sheriff. And that's a good question. That one's hard to answer, though. The day he was laid off, I quietly celebrated because I knew that he was, no matter what job he had, he opened the cotton bales with a pair of bolt cutters, and he would hit the band on the cotton bale, which is baled under thousands of pounds of pressure. And the bands would come off and go singing through the air, and they're like a razor blade on the end. And he was stabbed here and here. He almost lost his eye. And he had a safe job. So yeah, I celebrated him losing his job. It broke his heart. When I had some luck with the book, I don't talk about this much, but many years have passed, I paid off his mortgage. So he, would not have to worry about that. I was happy because I thought I might get to keep my brother a little longer, and I was right. I was right. But I know why you don't quit. You don't quit because that job is everything. Well, that's a good question. We're doing the Jerry Lee Lewis book, The Killer. Yeah, I spent all summer with him, and well, a big part of the summer with him, and he's as interesting as you would think he is. And I shook his hand when it was all over with and said, "Mr. Lewis, I think we'll write you a good book." And he said, "I know you will, killer." So we'll see how that goes. I want to thank all of you for giving me this chance. Thank you again.